Wow, hello. So thank you for that introduction. And I'll say a little bit more about the Digital Therapeutics Alliance and my role there, but let's start with the Slido survey. So you all have your Slido open. Let's start with the first question. Okay, so digital therapeutics. In how many countries are digital therapeutics currently being used, do you think? Give you some time to... Oh, here we go. Looks like we have conflicting opinions. All right. Not sure how long I should wait for results to come in. Interesting. Okay, let's take this as our response, and those who voted 17 plus are correct. Digital therapeutics are in use in the UK, in Belgium, in France, in South Korea, United States, Canada, Israel, many more countries, and being reimbursed through national healthcare systems in many of those. Okay, next question. All right, in your opinion, there's no, well, there is a right and wrong answer, but what is most likely, or sorry, who is most likely to use a digital therapeutic? Would it be not age dependent, anyone under 40, males 18 to 30, or youth 14 to 20? Give you a couple of seconds there. All right, that looks like our result. So in general, what we find, and we work with 38 member companies now, it is not age dependent. So you can have the very young up into people well into their 80s. So it's not age dependent, but it needs to be designed for that age group. Okay, next question. What percentage of the 300,000 plus digital health applications in the iTunes store or in the Google Play store are actually a digital therapeutic? Okay, that's about our response rate, 90 or so. So well done. This is a very aware crowd, so this is correct. Less than 1% are actually digital therapeutic. And I'll get into the reasons why that is, and we've actually published the reason why we say this in a categorization chart. So wonderful. So I just wanted to get an idea of how much you know about digital therapeutics, and where the pieces may be missing. So let me fill in all of the background. We can go to my slides now. Okay, the Digital Therapeutics Alliance. This is an alliance based in the US. It was actually started in France, which is where one of the first digital therapeutics was developed. And though I am American, I live in Barcelona, and we work on digital therapeutics there, in Brussels, in all European countries. So we're actually a global alliance. Next, oh, sorry, I have the slides. Okay. So we're going to talk about what digital therapeutics are, real-world case studies, how they're integrated into European healthcare systems, and the actual benefits. The main thing to understand for this talk, and I think most of you understand this, is what is a digital therapeutic? So we're not talking about the 300,000 plus health applications in iTunes. We're talking about software that delivers evidence-based therapeutic interventions to patients. And they can prevent, manage, or treat a medical disorder or disease. So these are not diagnosis apps. This is not taking a photograph of your skin and determining whether the mole is cancer. This is not continuous glucose monitoring. These are actual changes to a disease state based on use of a software platform. Okay, and so the reason we're so adamant about this definition is because, as you know, with the 300,000 health applications out there, it's difficult, and this has been brought up more than once, it's difficult for doctors to know what to use, what can we trust. And so we're trying to ensure in this sort of, what used to be a wild west of that anything went, that these products have to have evidence base to prove that they are a functional medicinal product. This is what we published in November. It's, and on our website you can find this information. It's more extensive. This is a categorization of the industry. So if you notice, digital health is everything. That is electronic patient records. That is using AI for public health issues. That is a huge, it's a big umbrella of a lot of very useful things, but not all of it is digital therapeutics. The next level down, or internally, is digital medicine. So this is connected glucose monitors, and those diagnosis apps. That is digital medicine. Digital therapeutics is much more specific, and you can see here, it includes clinical evidence and real-world outcomes. Because patients have the therapy in their hands, they are interacting and providing data to improve the treatment as they go. And I'll go into later some examples of digital therapeutics. First, we'll talk about the core industry principles that all products for the Digital Therapeutics Alliance, to be considered a digital therapeutic, so need to adhere to these 10 principles. And we vet companies very carefully before they join the Alliance. They must prevent or manage or treat disease. They are a medical intervention driven by software. You can read the 10 principles. And we've developed a document of best practices to ensure that companies understand how to adhere to these principles. And that is on our website, but some examples I can read. For example, on incorporating design, manufacture, and quality best practices, the companies need to take into consideration, for instance, building software in accordance with consensus certification standards like IEC 62304, ISO 14971. There are very specific ways to ensure design best practices, privacy best practices. For the privacy question, patient privacy, all DTX must be GDPR compliant, HIPAA compliant, all of these things. And you can find all these things on our website, so I won't go into all of it, but just to ensure everyone that best practices are integral to being a DTX. And so providing trust with these standards is possible. Okay, so as part of the best practices, clinical evaluation is very important. This is important for two reasons. One is providing health technology assessment groups, evidence that these products work. And the other is for reimbursement. So we're finding that when a product has been, when a trial has been well designed, it can prove efficacy, and also specifically, for instance, in the UK, for a certain pocket of that country, who will use the product and how much cost savings that area of the country will have at the end of 2 years using the product. So, yeah, I'm going to go into a few details here just because I think that digital therapeutics are ripe for use in Finland and Norway and Sweden and in the Nordics in general, because here there is an impressive infrastructure already. And I've heard from Lieve, for instance, her talk previously, she was talking about that it's difficult to get the funding for these products because there is no evidence, or there's not enough evidence. Digital therapeutics have a huge body of evidence. There are products with 25 clinical trials behind them. So this evidence is there. Additionally, products are subject to adequate, well-controlled investigations that establish the product is safe and effective. This is part of MDR, which is the medical device regulation. Because digital therapeutics are software, they're medical device software, so they're regulated under medical device software regulations. And although the MDR doesn't require it, we as a DTA, as a best practice, like to say a randomized controlled clinical trial is the best practice for these products. And that's not common for medical devices, but it is what we consider the gold standard. Okay, so I'll leave it at that just to emphasize the requirement for evidence, and that we have generated a lot of evidence for these products. Okay, so regulation of digital therapeutics. In the EU, all digital therapeutics fall under the MDR. So they require a CE mark. And as of May 2020, most of these products will be classified as 2A or higher. And for those of you who aren't into regulatory processes, this just means the risk class has increased. No longer can you self-certify for most products. In each country where a digital therapeutic is being used, there has been an HTA assessment as to the efficacy and value of the product. This has been done by NICE in the UK. They are actually currently reviewing for digital therapeutics. There are digital therapeutics in the NHS apps library. They've been highly vetted. The HAS in France has also reviewed and accepted 2 digital therapeutics into their national reimbursement system. BfArM in Germany, Belgium as well. And for us, the DTA, we've been working to broaden the understanding, the definition, and the adoption of these products. And the way we do that is to speak with these groups, with BfArM, with NICE, with the notified bodies, to explain the effect that these products can have for patients and the evidence that we've generated. Okay, so here is a case study to give an example. Insulia is a product developed by the company Voluntas, and it's for patients, specifically type 2 diabetes, being treated with long-acting insulin analogs. So designed with that population in mind. And so they've done, I think, 6 or 7 clinical trials, and in this one example here, it was shown that A1C levels were kept at below 7%, better than the control group. So it was not just the use of insulin. The use of insulin was the same. It was the actual intervention of the software which changed the A1C levels for that group. Okay? Oh, my clicker. Okay, another product. This is Sleepio. It's a company that started in the UK, went to the US, is now back in the UK, and they're actually being reimbursed in the London CCG for mental health. So this is a product that engages for sleep, help for sleep and mental health. It's the subject of 10 randomized clinical trials so far. They've been working on this, I have to say, since 2011, so it is not a new product. They have a lot of experience. And yes, and it says they're typically paid for by employers in the US, but by the NHS in the UK. Okay, so now we'll get into some actual regulation and reimbursement of DTX, because there was a comment before about the difficulty in getting these products paid for, or any digital health product. And so this is an example of what DTX products have to go through, and some other digital health products have used these systems, but countries are now accepting and paying for digital health interventions. So in Belgium, it's a pyramidal system. The first level is to simply show that you have the CE mark and you're GDPR compliant. It is not a small barrier, because getting a CE mark can take a year. It just depends on your risk class. And level 2 is being safely connected. So Belgium is undertaking the task of unifying their electronic patient records and trying to make an interoperable platform, and they're very close to launching this, or they have launched it. It was supposed to happen at the end of 2019. And they developed a laboratory, which is the level 2 laboratory, to test that DTX products, or digital health products, are interoperable within the Belgian system. And then level 3, which is the most difficult, is showing clinical evidence and demonstrating health economic outcomes for Belgium. So they won't accept clinical outcomes from Hungary or the US. Okay? And Germany. So I don't know if you've all heard, Germany just passed a law. It was taken to the Bundestag, I think, passed in November last year. It's called the Digital Supply Law, which made legal that any physician can prescribe digital health products, class 1 and 2A, to the 72 million people in Germany. So this is groundbreaking for us, for digital therapeutics, because suddenly we have a big market. There's no longer this trying to find the little pocket of England where you can be reimbursed, or the few patients in France. It's the entire country. So now they're working with the Ministry of Health and other groups to identify which products will be reimbursed. They're coming up with very specific frameworks for this, and they're willing to share these frameworks. So I think for the representatives from Norway and Finland who are here, this is an opportunity. Germany is saying, come speak with us, we're trying this. If it works, we'll share the results. They're saying, use us as a laboratory. So there's a lot of potential there. And I think at the end of March is when we'll see the first products actually integrated into the system. A lot of companies and other health systems ask us, well, so how much is it going to cost? And the German government has put a lot of money toward this, and the prices can be defined by the manufacturer, which is unheard of, but at the end of 1 year, if you haven't proven your worth, you're out. So it's a very interesting system, and we hope that they expand it to include class 2B and 3 devices as well, because that is the level of digital therapeutics. Okay, so for the Nordics, I have always admired, actually, the work in Norway for telemedicine. And in Finland, we've heard great things about the electronic health records and the work toward those kinds of infrastructures. But I've heard today that there isn't a lot of integration yet or financing for digital therapeutics. And I hope that can change, and we're happy to help. So, because here in Helsinki, for instance, there's a company called Kaiku. They are amazing. To me, what they do should be used all over the world. They are a platform, a DTX, for cancer treatments. And they've just brought on a new CMO. He's an oncologist, and he's seen what they've been working on since 2012, I believe, and he's seen how it changes patients' outcomes. This is for cancer. So it's a company to watch, it's a company to support. I hope there can be a way to integrate them into the health system of Finland. So you can look on their website and see how they work. They have a great video demonstrating the whole platform. Sidekick Health. It's a company that works on precisely what we've been talking about here today. Quitting smoking, obesity, that kind of thing, to prevent and manage chronic disease. It was started by 2 doctors from Iceland who are now based in Sweden. They're also doing wonderful work. Nouveau Air. Sorry, need to take a little drink. Nouveau Air is also based in Stockholm. This is a company that works with a device, a spirometer. So digital therapeutics can be standalone, just a software, or they can be with a device or with a medication. So there can be a companion as well. So this product is a spirometer that can be used for diseases like COPD or idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. And use of the product improves patient results such as the 6-meter walking test and their FVC. Allience Therapeutics, another company from Stockholm, also working on chronic disease. So it's another one to look at, specifically because of what we've talked about here today, about diet and movement and all these things being so important. These products will be in the hands of the patient. They're proven to work to actually change behaviors and health outcomes of the user. And lastly, I'll mention Brain Plus from Copenhagen. This is a digital therapeutic for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's. They're working on very serious trials now, which you can look at on their website, for all kinds of brain issues and diseases. So this is an idea of what's happening in the Nordics. These companies are at various stages of development. They're late stage startups, early stage companies with revenue, but they do need support, and this comes from national plans being willing to reimburse. And so we, as the DTA, recommend developing a common framework for understanding and evaluating DTX products, not only in the Nordic countries, but across Europe. Because, for instance, Kaiku, if the company will survive, they can't have just 1,000 patients in Helsinki. They need 50 million patients. The cost of developing these products is not a couple of €1,000 in somebody's basement. They spend millions of euros on clinical trials, on development, on user interface design, on all kinds of things. So, and on hiring chief medical officers. So there's a huge cost that goes into the development, and yeah, we'd like to see the integration happen so they can remain sustainable. Okay. The benefits and advantages of a digital therapeutic. I think this might already be apparent. healthier outcomes is obviously the first benefit. The patients are healthier. It's amazing to talk to someone who's used a digital therapeutic. I've used digital therapeutics. There's a company called Kaya for back pain. Phenomenal. If you can do this, take care of it yourself with your digital therapeutic, it's a feeling of control as well. Also, physician time is optimized. The panel here was talking about it being a crisis state for primary care, I believe. That's not just happening in Finland. I live in Spain. It is atrocious, the wait times. If you want to see a psychologist for a mental health issue, you can ask for an appointment. You might get one in 6 months. And when they do see you, you might get half an hour, and your next appointment is in 6 months. Why don't we prescribe them a digital therapeutic? They can use it every day, have markedly improved outcomes, and meanwhile, wait to see the doctor. Another advantage is patient engagement and the real-world evidence. So when we talk to pharma companies, and pharma companies are a big supporter of digital therapeutics, they develop them, they partner with other companies to integrate them. They have suddenly patient engagement on a level they never had before. It's not about giving a pill and you never see the person again. It's you get feedback, you understand how the patient's using this product, why they use it, where they use it, what factors influence the use, whether it's temperature or time of the year or whatever it is. I say temperature because some respiratory DTX do calculate temperature when collecting evidence. So the other thing about RWE, real-world evidence, is how this could be used as evidence for health technology assessment. So this is something that we talk about a lot within the Alliance, and it remains to be seen if this will be integrated into actual frameworks, but the FDA is looking at it too in the US. So another benefit is reaching unmet patient need. Obviously, if a doctor has limited time, they aren't going to see all the patients that are in need, and so a greater patient population can be served. And a secondary effect, and this is something that we stress with pharma companies, it's not about adherence. That's not the point of the DTX. But as a secondary effect, patients are more adherent. They do tend to stick to the protocol, and therefore, the use of medication is better and the outcomes are healthier. This is also a new industry for the economy. The UK will be leaving the European Union soon, and part of the economic plan, as I've heard, is to become a biotech center for Europe. DTX would be a fantastic addition or growth sector for the UK. And I think here, too, you have a new prime minister, and I applaud her. And I believe she has an idea or a mandate, I don't know which, to create 30,000 new jobs in the next 9 months. I don't know. Digital is a fantastic way to create those jobs. You have young people out in rural areas who could, with some training, become digital therapeutics developers or clinical trial runners, or there's so many parts of the ecosystem. This would be a good way to boost the economy, in my opinion. It's also recognized as innovative. Oh, I'm out of time? Oh, shoot. Okay, so it's also second nature to youth populations. And lastly, just wanted to say one thing. So mental health in Finland, it was mentioned that this is rising for youth, and we don't know the true cost of this. So there are DTX products for depression, for anxiety, and alcohol abuse. It's time we started looking at how to solve these problems and save not only the cost of actual health care, but the cost of people's lives. Okay, I'll leave it at that. All right, thank you very much.